Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Veterans Outreach Center and what we do there?
Well, Mike,
Excuse me, I don't want to interrupt you. First of all, why don't you tell me why that center was started and why you feel there was a need to have a center out there? Because basically, that was your idea. I mean, you felt that there was a need for that, so.
what we wanted to do is we wanted to enhance the services that you already had created in Cook County. So when we had the idea to approach you about that, it was more or less just so we could access veterans in Will and Grundy and Kankakee counties in order to help facilitate the same programs that you're utilizing, but also to enhance them by offering veterans outreach services. So that's basically why we ended up out there, so we could be as far south as we could get, but still be within the demographic to be able to, reach those veterans in those other 3 counties.
Good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we do out there?
Well, currently we're ramping up operations between the Veterans Court in Will County. We're working with judges, Judge Victoria McKay Kinnison, who's running for the 12th Circuit, and Judge Polly.
I met her. She's an awesome lady.
Yes, yes. And Judge Polly Condriotis, who is retiring from the 12th Circuit. Currently, we have assisted, I believe, up to 2 veterans through that Veterans Court and assisting them to help them get service dogs and providing outreach services to others. Other programs that we're trying to work on is working with our veteran community in the area, attending veterans breakfasts on a regular basis, and then trying to make sure that we reach out to the demographic in that area. We're going to be doing some things with Operation Firm Handshake coming up in September. We've had the honor and the opportunity to be able to work with you at some of your functions to get our name out there. So we would also like to kind of push an agenda for a Veterans Outreach Ministry that's going to help us provide religious services through my chaplaincy to be able to basically help facilitate further programs.
Ty, you're a veteran yourself, so I'm sure you understand how important these services really are to our veterans, and especially, they're pretty far from Chicago. I mean, where most of the services are at. So, by K-9 bringing out these services to that location, and tell them where the location's at.
We're located in Custer Park, Illinois at 35445 South Washington Street in Custer Park, 60481. That's about as far south as you can go in Will County, southeast, before you're almost in Kankakee.
Really?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us how the program works? What does it take? Okay, you're a veteran. You're interested in the program. What do you got to do to get in? I mean,
well, right now, what they could do is they could reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is Veterans Outreach Services of Illinois. And also we can be reached at 815-458-2700. Again, that number is 815-458-2700. Pretty much anyone's, all I have to do is come into the office there. We have, or you can call for an appointment. We'll be able to help facilitate services through our local C-Box.
do you have to bring your DD-214? Do you need any kind of...
Generally, no, because a lot of that, if they're looking for service dogs, they would actually go to your website.
But to get your services, are they what?
Well, they would have to show some type of proof of service.
Service, right.
Generally, a DD Form 214 or a Veterans ID
Right.
Would be the ideal, or any type of service connection letter from, the actual Veterans Administration.
Okay.
But as far as being a Marine veteran, there's just not a lot of resources out there.
Right.
The VA is is just inundated with just a lack of resources. They're doing the best that they can, but with all the veterans returning back from combat operations overseas these days, it's a little difficult and they can be overstressed. So we just want to try to help our corner of the world.
Right. I know when we had our grand opening there, it was pretty well received by the people that were the local residents and stuff like that. How is it going now? I mean, are the local residents still getting involved with the organization?
Yes, I think Wendy could speak to some of that
Yeah, Wendy,
in regards to some of the services that we're helping
Sure.
veterans and non-veterans there at the center.
Yes. At the center, we have monthly senior meetings for local seniors where they come in and give us ideas on what they would like to see done with the center. And we called it the center because it's for all, it's not just for Custer Park, it's for Morris, Godley,
Right,
Essex.
surrounding.
Yes, and we have different organizations there. We have the Braidwood Coalition, which meets there monthly. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have a seniors walk, where they come from 10 to 12 and walk and socialize and meet.
That's awesome.
Little coffee social.
Yeah,
That's
oh yeah,
really
it's
awesome.
great. It's great.
I know it's pretty early in the program right now, and we're basically just getting set up out there and trying to feel our way out there and,
Yes.
you know, see what's gonna work, what's not gonna work, what's needed, what's not gonna be needed.
Right.
What do you foresee happening out there? What would you like to see out there?
Well, ultimately, I'd like to enhance the overall vision of Canines for Veterans, NFP, by bringing to the table, you know, some maybe some work programs, some resume writing programs. We want to be able to provide maybe possibly an exercise class. We're working really closely right now with a company called 515 Fitness. They do mind and body health.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Fitness. Yeah, so it's a really good opportunity for a veteran with private insurance, of course, would be able to come in there and be able to utilize their facilities to receive maybe some counseling. And then what they do is they incorporate that counseling or social work in with a exercise program,
Right.
or a workout program that helps facilitate good body mind health.
Right. I also understand, we work with not only Wounded Warrior, but we also work with the Road Home Group, okay?
Yes.
And it's my understanding that in the not too distant future, Road Home is thinking about putting in office out there for their PTSD program for veterans, if there is a strong enough need for it out there. So are we trying to cultivate that so we can have that open?
Yes, I think right now it's again, ramping up operations. I think what we're trying to do is reach a demographic of our OAF veterans, some of our Vietnam era veterans. Right now, currently, we're working with a lot of World War II and Korean War veterans and some Vietnam veterans. So our demographic is a little bit different out there. But I think ultimately, yes, we would like to have Rush out there. We actually have secured an office space for them that we're currently not using, but we hope to have them out there soon.
This is a little off track, but I noticed that the decrease in membership in VFWs and American Legion posts, that the younger guys returning home are not signing up and joining these groups, which is making it, I guess, difficult and harder for us to reach out to them.
For sure.
Because we don't know who they are, or where they're at, or what we could do for them. So, you know, how do we get these guys to, you know, go from the old guard to the new guard and get them more interested in, is there anything we could do that, you know, to help these guys with the transition? Because they're from the old school. These guys that have been in these VFW posts, God bless them all, but they're from the old school. You know,
Yes.
they're just doing things their way, and that's it.
Correct.
And the young guys feel that, you know, I just wouldn't fit in it. It's not for me. You know, I mean, they're just a bunch of people sitting around, just, you know,
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
Yeah.
And
What could we do to get them interested in joining up?
I think that's a great question.
mean,
Actually,
it's gotta be-
to that end, what we need to do is I think there's a generational gap between conflicts that took place
Oh, absolutely.
where,
Right.
especially if you look from the Korean War to the Vietnam War, if you look from World War I to the Vietnam War, there are a lot of different aspects to that. It's a change in the generational, I guess, mindset. A lot of these kids, they think that they're invincible. They don't understand that there's a far greater risk in their future for developing symptoms and signs of PTSD and the things that go along with them, such as drug addiction, alcoholism, depression. And I think what we need to do is to bring, and it's one of the things I like to do with Veterans Outreach Ministry, is to bring the older to the newer in the
Right.
same room.
Bridge
and
them
open up
together.
exactly. I want to
Bridge
bridge that
the
gap by
gap,
opening
yeah.
up a dialogue between the two, because maybe something that a Vietnam veteran went through, would be able to translate well with what an OAF vet went through, or a Desert Storm vet. So ultimately, it's about bridging that gap, and it's about creating a communication
Right.
standard that's going to be lasting.
Yeah, I knew that was a little off track, but I remember an earlier conversation with you saying that, Mike, what, I'm doing what I can, we just don't have enough veterans out here
Yeah.
that are willing to jump on board and, join these VFWs, these American Legions.
Right.
And those are the people that we need to reach out to.
And just from attending different events, we find more often than not that there is an older demographic.
Sure.
And that's what we're reaching out there. I had the opportunity and honor to go to a veterans breakfast at a restaurant where veterans meet, every so often, and it was an older demographic, and I kind of felt some things were lost in the translation, but it just reinforced what I've always said, that if we bridge that gap and bring some dialogue
Right.
to the table between the two eras,
Right.
I think we can find some commonality and some common ground that is going to help enhance the services.
Be a good job for you.
Yes, that's something we're working with the ministry.
Yes.
As far as employment counselors or access to employment professionals, we had talked about, when we had talked about getting this thing started, we were going to try to offer some services to the veterans that are out there for resume writing, mock interviews to help them through their interview process. We talked about working with Bridge to Success, who is an organization that will provide the veterans free clothes, free shoes, jackets, pants,
Yes.
underwear, socks, whatever they need to go on that interview so they feel good about themselves.
If
You know,
if I
so-
may, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Michael. Our caring closet, which they have a storage unit at the center. Our caring closet in Wilmington does give out free clothing
Are they
to
new?
people.
Is it new clothing?
It's gently used,
Okay.
but it's nice
Well, with
suits.
Bridge
and
to
stuff.
Success, everything is brand new.
Oh,
They
I'm
take
sorry,
out
I
to
was
the-
not
no,
aware of
they-
that.
everything is brand new. It's made to fit. If it needs to be tailored, it's tailored.
Oh, that's awesome.
Whatever it is. I mean, this is really an unbelievable organization. It
Okay.
really is.
And that's a great segue into one of the things you have to understand with PTSD is the brain trying to make sense of the senseless. In order to get a veteran or anyone who had suffered any type of post-traumatic stress to that level where they would be able to, reach out for that goal of getting employment, we first have to get their mind wrapped around the fact that that there's help and there's resources out there for them to
Right.
mentally get better before we can even expect them to go at that next level. But yes, ultimately, when we get them to that level with the help of Road Home and the Bridge to Success, we are working closely with the Illinois Department of Employment Security and other agencies out there that are helping to provide and facilitate job growth in the area among veterans. There's just to name a few. There's Chase Bank has said over the last couple of years that they're striving to hire. I think it's up to I want to say almost 1 million veterans. But we also have some other things we have to take care of too. There's a huge homeless veteran population.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, I think we're up to 500,000 or
Homeless.
more better of homeless.
Yeah.
And of those 500,000, we have probably another 1.4 million who are at the risk of being homeless or are suffering from some type of addiction. So one of the things that we're working very closely with out there is our local law enforcement and our judges and our Veterans Court in order to help facilitate the growth and prosperity of the Braidwood Healthy Coalition. Our judges are very pro-veteran, and our law enforcement is very pro-veteran, so that's giving us an edge to kind of curb those things like homelessness and the drug addiction.
Right.
And incorporate that with good mental health and the Bridge to Success program and work programs. We find ourselves in a good place to experience some good growth for the next year.
That's awesome. You know, I can see so much potential for this out there. I can see such a need for it. That's why when we had the opportunity and they said, hey, you know, would you guys like to do something with us out here? You know, there's just nothing out there. I mean,
Correct.
you and I both looked at it,
Yeah.
and we said, there's just nothing out there. We need to do something, you know, because a lot of these veterans have a hard time getting into Chicago to even
Absolutely.
apply for their benefits. So having a place they could go to get some help, my God, it was just like, okay, we have to do this. We really do.
Oh, definitely.
Well, we'd like to work with, you know, companies like Uber and Lyft to help provide intermediate transportation to and from the VA or to and from our facility. I'm currently working a deal with Uber to see if there's any way we can get our drivers to give discounted rates, you know, to veterans
Right.
who may be struggling with, you know, some issues financially. And you and I had discussed, you know, the fact that we want to be able to help these individuals. So if they're running into an issue with, you know, maybe paying a light bill or maybe the kid just needs a new pair of shoes to start school,
Right.
you know, and nothing expensive, but you know, we want to be able to help facilitate those things. You
Well, I
know?
think the purpose of this training center was to just see what needs we could fulfill for the veterans.
Right.
You know, it's like when we were asked to do this show, you know, and I says, well, you know, it can't be about canine. This is not what we're about. It has to be about veterans helping veterans. And that's so typical of what that center represents.
Yes.
It really is.
Oh, yes.
We need to put our veterans first. And I seen something interesting on Facebook the other day. It was you may have seen it on my posting. It was a soldier, you know, all carrying his pack and everything else like
yes,
that.
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
there was a little kid walking next to him and stuff, and it says, "Don't forget the veteran's family."
That's right.
Okay, you know, that's another area that we could reach out to because so many secondary PTSD is very commonplace with veterans that have PTSD. Their spouses can, and it's been proven to develop secondary PTSD because of what they're experiencing with that soldier going that has PTSD. So
Absolutely.
maybe that's another avenue we need to look
And
at.
I can speak to that personally with mine and my wife's relationship. You know, I didn't get the help I needed. Oh, I'm a Marine. There's nothing wrong with me. That's not the case. You have to be well mentally, and your mental health has to come first. And you can't. You're absolutely right. You can't experience some type of secondary PTSD. And you know, I'm very thankful to God and the church and you know, to Canines for helping me bridge that gap myself.
Well, this center
to
could
get
do
ready.
nothing but good for our veterans.
I believe so.
You've got yourself out there, and you've got Wendy out there working with the community, putting our best foot forward
Absolutely.
to get not only the community involved, but to get the veterans involved. It's a tough job. You got a tough job out there
Yes.
because you're breaking ground. Nobody's been there before. You know, you're the Christopher Columbus of this. You know,
Yes.
you got to deal with this because, like I said, anything you put together out there, it's because you put it together. Because when you went out there and with Wendy's help, you know, we're going to make this work
Absolutely.
because it's needed.
And Wendy's a new addition to the team, and she helps facilitate a lot of just some of the day-to-day things. You know, when she's available, we're all basically doing volunteer work out there, and we're offering something back to the community as well in the future, as you and I had discussed previously. We're going to go ahead and give just like a basic doggy boot camp to the community members for their own personal pets.
Right.
And I believe that's going to help facilitate a trust.
Well, it'll build relations
bond,
with the community
yes.
too. So
I mean-
that's really an important part. If you don't, I don't know, if you don't have the community behind you,
Right.
you really don't have
Right.
anything. You have to build the community's trust. They have to believe in what
Right.
you're doing, and once they do that, they'll actively get involved.
And it's a rural community, so
Exactly.
trust is trust and God are two very things that run, side by side Paramount. Those
Where-
product lines.
Also,
Where do you see this going? Okay, let's say that we have all our programs in place. Okay, and we're doing everything we said we were gonna do out there. Where do you see this ultimately leading to? I mean,
I believe, and it's my vision and my passion. I'm very mission oriented, very mission specific. I feel that within a year to 2 years time, I think that we will be able to have garnered the trust of the community. I think we would have established a good demographic of our veteran population, and I think we will have some really big success stories behind us. One of them coming out of Veterans Court already, which we provided a service dog for, another Marine brother of mine. So I really feel that we have the capacity and the capability and the compassion to be able to do what we say we're going to do. And I feel that in the future, our growth is not only dependent on our hard work, but on the trust that we garner
Right.
from the community.
absolutely.
I foresee a lot of great growth out there, especially once we get further into Grundy and Kankakee counties, and we can
Well,
move a little bit further south.
you and Wendy definitely have your work cut out for you.
Oh, we've got a
But
big.
let me tell you, I don't
big
think we
job.
could have picked two better people out there.
I appreciate
I
that.
mean,
Thank
these
you.
guys
Thank you, Michael.
are an awesome team.
Thank you.
You're part of that team. You're a very big part of that.
Yeah,
team.
right.
We're also getting Iroquois Mental Health is
Yes.
coming out there to
Okay.
the center, which I see that benefiting.
Gotta wrap it up.
I'm sorry, veterans, because I know
Yeah.
in Joliet they shut down a majority of the psychiatric help out there. Yeah, so.
Yes.
Well, again, I think this outreach center is something that was really needed. I think we've got a great team in place.
Yes.
I think we've got a lot of veterans that we could assist out there.
Absolutely.
I think it's gonna be something to be reckoned with. As long as we could help one veteran,
Yeah.
and we help one veteran, that's huge, okay?
Absolutely.
Again, it's all about the veterans. Why don't you wrap it up, give us your location, your name, your title, location, and have Wendy do the same, and then I'll do my closing, and we'll out of here.
Okay. Again, my name is Bruce Ty, T-Y, Keller, Keller. I am the Veteran Affairs Coordinator for Canines for Veterans, Veterans Outreach Center, and also the chaplain for Veterans Outreach Ministries. We are located at 35445 South Washington Street in Custer Park, Illinois, 60481, and we can be reached at 815-458-2700. Again, this is my administrative assistant, Wendy Lee. Wendy?
Yes, I'm obviously at the same location as Ty, and I can be reached on my personal cell phone if needed at 815-954-3105 in case Ty cannot be reached. So,
Great. Ty,
super.
Thank you,
thank
Michael.
you. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate
you.
coming out.
Absolutely.
Just on a side note, just like to say goodnight. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
viewing. Make sure we're here the second Tuesday of every month, and if there's a fifth Thursday in the month, we're on that as well. So it's again the second Thursday, and if it's a fifth Thursday, we're on that day too. So again, thank you for calling, and make sure you go to k9sd.org and check out our website, learn more about us, learn how you could help our outreach center with Ty, and make sure you learn how you can come out to K9 for Veterans and give us a hand. We're always looking for volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
night.